Okay, it's time for Raccoon Rambles. We're gonna go outside and see if the raccoons are there. We're gonna see who showed up, and this is all gonna be about feeding raccoons and having some mental toughness conversations. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brendan, and I post a lot of nature videos, and I also work as a mental toughness coach. So tonight, we're gonna see who's out there. We're gonna have some fun. Who knows what's gonna happen? We're glad you're here. Ready to get started? Let's check it out. Okay, so today on Raccoon Rambles, we're going to be feeding these lovely raccoons. We got some dog food, some peanuts. And we're going to be talking about a life-changing topic. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been guilty of being too hard on yourself? Let me know in the chat. Have you ever been too hard on yourself? So why is it important we chat about this? Well, you know what? The habit of self-rejection, it can be a hidden cause of much suffering, both mentally and physically in life. Our psychology becomes our physiology. So sometimes our thoughts affect our hormones and our body and our posture, you know, and to the cells of your body, your thoughts are the voice of God. And your self-concept is central to your reality and your existence. Now, before we go there, sometimes people have a little bit of baggage about the idea of self-acceptance. So we need to check our baggage. Here you go. How's your little house? Talk about someone who's living rent-free. We need to check our baggage. So one of the forms of baggage people have is, there's no need for this self-improvement stuff. Well, that's often a form of self-neglect masquerading as something more elevated, because true fulfillment comes from self-realizing our higher potential. And if a baby is crying, you're not just going to leave the baby, are you? So we need to tend to the parts of us that need healing. We need to treat ourselves like we're somebody we're responsible of taking care of. Some people have the baggage that others need it more. Unfortunately, a lot of caregivers have this baggage. And why is it a bad idea to think that way? Well, we can't give what we don't have to give. You can't pour from an empty cup. So if we neglect our own self-care and self-compassion, it depletes us. In the end, we're not able to help people out as well as we could. Plus, if we get caught in the habit of toxic people-pleasing, think about how much pain and suffering it's caused you. Well, you know what? There's a lot of little people that look up to you and they're watching what you're doing, and imagine they're at your phase in life and now they're thinking and acting just like you do. Do you want them to think this behavior is okay? Something to think about. We don't want to pass on self-neglect like a disease to those who are role modeling us. Anyway, sometimes people have the baggage that self-compassion will make you weak or lazy, that you need to be criticizing yourself to be motivated. Well, you know what? That's like cheap fuel in your car. It can get you moving, but it leads to vehicle problems up the road as we burn ourselves out. One of the things we want to think about is, what has to happen for you to accept yourself? What does your brain say? It might say something like, I have to be number one, or everything has to be perfect, or other people have to positively recognize me, or the people around me have to be happy and healthy. A lot of us have a rule that's unfair and is weakening us. Often we need a corrective of perspective in this area. There's about 5 key mindset shifts that should happen when it comes to self-acceptance. One thing is we really have to convince ourselves it's a bad idea to be too hard on ourselves. And why is that a bad idea? Well, it makes us feel lousy, so we're not at our best. It can lead to moodiness, and moodiness is like throwing a skunk into the middle of the room. It just stinks for everybody. Another thing we need to have is a mindset shift. Why do you deserve even more respect? Think about it this way. Can you even recall all the good things you've ever done in your life? Probably not, unless there's only a few. You can't even measure your own goodness. But the thing is this, have you ever had somebody come up to you and they reminded you of something good you had said or done for them, but you had forgot about it until they reminded you? So even though you may have forgotten all the good you've done, others haven't. It's embedded in their hearts and minds. So you deserve even more respect. You're not qualified to negatively judge yourself because you can't possibly hold in mind all the good things you've done. Another reason why you deserve even more respect is that you are not limited by your potential. If you had 1 billion years, you could probably graduate every school program. Sure, you might fail university math 100 times, but eventually you'll figure it out. You could learn all the handyman skills you need to learn. You could learn all the different languages if you had 1 billion, trillion, infinite amount of time. You're actually not limited by your potential. You're only limited by your lifespan. So you have infinite potential if you had eternity to grow and learn and develop. So you deserve even more respect. The third mindset shift we need to have is, why should you not judge yourself in this moment? Why should you not judge yourself in this moment? What do you think? Throw it in the chat. Here are some things to consider. You are so much more than can possibly be expressed in this moment, right? Also, you wouldn't judge a masterpiece painting, maybe a Van Gogh painting, after he's only worked on it for 10 minutes. Because it doesn't really matter how it looks in that moment. It matters what it's becoming. And I would submit to you that you're a masterpiece in progress and you're not done yet. Oh, there's a little raccoon between my legs. There we go. Also, there are inescapable stages of development we have to go through. Do you know how long it takes a peach tree before it starts producing peaches? I heard it's about 5 years. There are inescapable stages of development. So a lot of times we're hard on ourselves because we have these imaginary timelines for our success, and they're unrealistic. We take our preferences for reality and make them our expectations and then get disappointed in ourselves and beat ourselves up. But these were never realistic timelines to begin with. We just wish we would have the success we want sooner than we had it. Why should we not judge ourselves in the moment? Another thing to think about is, how does all your past mistakes and failures serve a greater good. Come on, baby. We need to come to peace with the fact that we often learn to appreciate the right way of living by having lived the wrong way. You know? Think about it this way. If you were to be in all those situations in your past, right now, knowing what you know after all your life experience, would you act differently? If you were in those past situations? If the answer is yes, then you evolved. It served as a stepping stone to a greater good, your self-realization of your potential. All experience is valuable. In fact, we learn more through the pain and suffering of our mistakes and wrongdoings, don't we? It sucks to admit it, but it's true. The other mindset shift we need to have is, how are you innocent? How are you innocent? Look, I don't know about you, but it's not like I got a PhD in how to be human before I showed up in this place. We are all like pilots that are learning to fly in midair, and we struggle as we go. But it's important to recognize that at all times, you were just doing the best you could with what you knew, and if you knew better, you would have done better. Now, some people might argue with me and be like, yeah, but I did know better. Well, your behavior shows where your real vote was. It might have been a split decision. A part of you is like, I really shouldn't do this. But you went through with it because majority was that you did feel it was a good idea. All the bad things we do seem like a good idea at the time, for the most part. So you're innocent, and I encourage you to see your innocence. That we're all just learning as we go here. We're all on a journey from ignorance to understanding in all things, and all of our behaviors and choices are just life experiments, seeing what works for us. Isn't that right? So these are the mindset shifts we need to have. Now, one of the important things to consider is a wardrobe change. So if we hold in mind all these perspectives, we can change the rule on what needs to happen for us to accept ourselves. And I want you to try on some of these new rules I might suggest and see if they just fit better, if they're more comfortable. So here's number one. I'm just going to throw a bunch of ideas out there. And I'm going to give you maybe about 6 or 7. Here's a new corrective of perspective. In order to accept myself, I just need to remember how far I've come and how much further I can still go. Beautiful. I love that one. That's number 1. In order to accept myself, I just need to remember how far I've come and how much further I can still go. Number 2. In order to accept myself, I just need to remember that I'm a highly capable learner with high potential. Wonderful. Just remember who and what you are. A highly capable learner with high potential. Some people, by the way, they were complaining that I didn't have a water dish out. That blue thing up there is a water dish. It was a bird bath, but we just use it as a drinking dish. People, I guess, didn't see it, so I put out a more obvious dish tonight, and they're really using it a lot. The raccoons really appreciate it. Number 3 you could choose is, in order to accept myself, I just need to remember the good I've done and the good I'm still capable of doing. There was one person I worked with once, I was coaching, and Their self-acceptance rule was everything needs to be perfect, and they were experiencing a lot of aches and pains, debilitating. They were bedridden. We changed it to, I just need to remember the good I've done and the good I'm still capable of doing. And it was life-changing for her, and she got her life back. Because when we're stressing ourselves out, it blocks the healing process. We can't heal if we're always getting down on ourselves. We put ourselves in fight or flight mode instead of parasympathetic heal and recover mode. Remember, our psychology influences our physiology. Number 4 might be, in order to accept myself, I just need to remember that I'm not done yet, and the struggle makes me stronger. I'm not done yet, and the struggle makes me stronger. Imagine you had that internalized and memorized. You know, we embrace the burn of weight training, but we need to embrace the burn of our life difficulties, knowing that in the same way it makes us stronger and better. Number 5 might be, in order to accept myself, I need to remember that my potential is bigger than my problems, and my life is divinely guided. My potential is bigger than my problems, and my life is divinely guided. Number 6 is a spiritual one. For those who want to go there and that resonates more with them, you can say, in order to accept myself, I just need to remember I'm a child of God with God's power and potential working through me. I'm a child of God with God's power and potential working through me. I love that one. It's beautiful. As a 7th one, I want you to think about the people that you admire in your life. What qualities do you admire them for? Think about who you accept and admire and why. Maybe there's somebody in your life and you really like them because they can be really kind. They can be really wise. They can be really helpful to others. Well, let me ask you this. Do you have the potential to express all of... Oh, are you stretching? That's so cute. Do you have the potential to express those qualities? Well, why don't we make your self-acceptance rule that you need to remember that you have the potential to express these qualities, the specific ones that you admire in others, right? They are just, in fact, reflecting your own higher potential. Here you go, sweetie. They're so cute and they're so gentle, these animals. Raccoon Rambles, this is what it's all about. Boop, boop, boop. So I want you to think about those 7 new self-acceptance rules. Which one do you like best? Or you can make up your own. This is really important to do, because if you have a disharmonious rule for accepting yourself, it's going to come out in all kinds of unwholesome ways, like defensiveness and moodiness and despair and hopelessness and exhaustion. This is a cure for what ails a lot of people. The next step is this. You need to memorize it. Really memorize it. You have to assimilate it in your atoms. You have to know this new rule in your bones. Okay? And then you have to live it more deeply. And in order to live it more deeply, I want you to think about what different things might you do this week in order to stay in alignment with this new rule. Maybe you exercise this week. You do healthy eating. You do more prayer and meditation. Maybe a good action step for you this week would be to surround yourself with good influences. Think about those people that see the best in you and bring out the best in you. One of the best love gestures you can make to yourself is to prioritize the good influences in your life. Another thing you might want to think about to honor yourself this week is to set some healthy boundaries on the bad influences. I know that one will hit home for a lot of people. I've been coaching since 2003, doing mental toughness coaching, and it's really tough because there's a lot of people in our lives that can really bring us down, and a lot of times they're very close to you. They might be very close friends and family. And there's a concept I want you to think about. If you had a pet dragon, how would you love it? You know, if you get close, it's going to burn you. How would you love a pet dragon? Because a lot of people in your life, they are love dragons. The people you care about that burn you. Well, the answer is you would love it at a safe distance. And boundaries are a topic I will talk about in a future conversation. We'll do a boundaries boot camp if people are interested. It deserves its own time for reflection. What might be some action steps you might take to get in alignment and stay in alignment with your new self-acceptance rule? So in summary, what we talked about today is this is really important that we detox the idea of self-neglect, self-rejection, and self-hating thoughts. We do all kinds of cleanses in our life, nutritional cleanses and detox things. We need to detox this. Because this has a whole bunch of negative symptoms in our life. We need to check our baggage. We really need to convince ourselves it's a good idea to do this and not come up with these justifications that we just stay the same or we avoid doing this work. You know, we need to have some key attitude shifts. You need to really convince your brain that it's a good idea not to be hard on yourself, that you deserve more respect than you give yourself, that you shouldn't judge yourself in the moment, that all the wrong and bad things you've done can serve a greater good, and that you're innocent. And then we really need to think about what a corrective of perspective might be for us. We need to memorize it. Then we need to live it more deeply. Put it into action. And then, you know what? I'd encourage you to help others do the same, because we're all in this human experience thing together, just trying to figure it out. I know you're in the raccoon experience, but you're a part of this conversation. You're all hearing this right now. There's a part of you that's catching the vibes of this conversation. Even if you don't understand it on a surface level, your soul is taking it in. The raccoons really appreciate you showing up tonight and being a part of their feeding rally. And I really appreciate you being part of this ramble, this mental toughness conversation about self-concept, cleansing that. And if you have any requests for future topics and conversations, please let me know in the chat. Other than that, I appreciate you, love you forever. I see your innocence, and I'm sending positive vibes to you all. Cheers.